Good evening. Sorry for a little technical difficulty.
Sorry we are late. My computer shut off. I think we had a little flash of electricity and wireless. A tornado came through here about 10 days ago, I want to say. 2 weeks ago, around there. And we're still battling electrical issues in the area. So, but thank you for everybody who is joining us. We're going to scroll up to the top and say hello. I'm going to give you a quick introduction. Oh, hello from Australia.
Oh.
Awesome. If you guys are new to the chat, you can enter your question into the chat line. I try to stay in order as best as possible. We try to get through as many questions as possible, which we do tend to get through quite a bit. We don't just take paid questions, although we do appreciate the support because SAS is completely run off of donations from viewers. Without your donations, we would cease to exist because we do not take sponsorships. We do not make commercials. We do not take checks from manufacturers for anything, for any videos. We do not take any free anything. So your money goes strictly to SAS. If you would like to make a donation tonight, our preferred method is DonorBox. They only take 3%, whereas Google takes 30% of your donations. Although, it's whatever is easiest for you guys. That link is available on Small Arms Solutions. I did put it in the chat earlier. I'm still having very slow connection right now. So bear with me. Hopefully we're still on.
We'll get there. Just may take a little bit longer.
There we go. Okay, we're still on. Yeah, it's trying to do a bunch of different things right now. My computer is... Sorry. As soon as my computer came up and running, we jumped straight on because I knew I was late. Everyone wants the latest and greatest optic. Would you consider a video on the various types of iron sights, A1, A2, 4, Knights, DD, etc., and setting them? Most people don't know. Set them now.
Well, yeah, I guess I haven't really paid as much attention to iron sights because they seem to be archaic these days. Nobody seems to have too much interest in them. The reality is backup iron sights are still a very important aspect of any combat rifle because optics do go down, batteries do go out, optics can get damaged. There's a lot of different options that are out there. Some are just more durable than others. I'm a big one for the Magpul M-Bus Pro series. I think they're awesome. Prior to them not being available any longer, I was fond of the arms too. The arms now probably a little bit outdated just because of the fact they're so high. But this is one of the most 6.5, half dozen. It's there's not too many what you would call bad ones out there. The difference is plastic versus steel. Plastic are literally backup sights. They're not really meant for any kind of heavy use. If you go with something like a metal backup sight, like a Magpul M-Bus Pro, M-Plus Pro, or M-Bus Pro, excuse me.
We've been filming a lot today, so words may not come easy today.
Yeah. The M-Bus Pro is really the way to go. You'll see them on most of my builds.
Is the 20-inch barrel 5.56-223 still relevant for today's time?
I think it's absolutely relevant. The fact that it's not bought anymore is a whole different ballgame. It's just one of the later countries who got rid of it was Canada with their C7 A3 or A2s. They're now going to a standard carbine instead of the 20-inch. It was basically the C7 A2 was the midlife upgrade. I think absolutely it's still relevant. It's unfortunate they're not being used as much. The thing is just too much warfare now where people are mounted. They're in vehicles. They're getting in and out of armored personnel carriers out of vehicles. And the 20-inch barrel, although it's more reliable, by proclamation than the other ones, it's just not nearly as practical. If you look at the M855 Alpha 1, that was designed specifically around the carbine length gas system. The 5.56 NATO cartridge was designed around a 20-inch barrel. The way your port pressures and chamber pressures, your peak port, your peak chamber pressure, your peak port pressure was right behind where the gas port was. Well, if you have a carbine length system, your peak strikes later. So the M855 Alpha 1 was designed to give you the same port pressures in a 14.5-inch carbine system as you did in a 20-inch rifle length gas system. So, it's definitely still relevant. The ammunition now is more so being geared towards working more with the carbine length barrels, but absolutely relevant today.
Are any military or police forces using LWRC weapons, and which guns are they using?
Oh, absolutely. I remember this was a while ago. I was over in Jordan at the Casada King Abdullah Special Operations Training Center. It was basically a special forces training camp that throughout the region, special operations guys would come. Because Jordan had a big restriction on being able to import guns, even for training purposes for foreign militaries, they had their own that were there. They had some LWRC M6s that were there that, my God, these things were still running and they were shot to hell. The parts were broken on them. They were still working. LWRCI does have contracts. They had that Middle Eastern contract for the 6.8. They do contracts for special operations units. I'm not aware of any kind of regular Army contracts, but those guns are in use by special operations and police all over the world.
Howdy from Alaska, and thanks for doing these. Well, thank you, Julian, for joining us. Seth on DonorBox, thank you, Seth. He says, I recently picked up a copy of America's Rifle. Thank you. Those are still available on Small Arms Solutions if you would like to grab your copy. He's really enjoying it so far. Are you familiar with the ZM Weapons LR300 designed by Al Zeta? I own one of the upper kits. It's an internal piston AR that allows for a folding stock, produced in the late 90s, early 2000s. Would love to see you do a video on one.
I have not seen one. I'm familiar with the design. In fact, there was a company that I had some consulting work with that there were some patent issues, and that was one of the patents that came up. I am familiar with it, but I'm sorry to say I've never had my hands on one. I looked for one. There was a time where the name of the company was out of Canada. Para Ordnance was building that particular rifle. I would love to if I could get my hands on one. That's just one of those real rare unicorns that it's just hard for me to come across. But yeah, I am familiar with it.
Kevin on DonorBox, thank you, Kevin. I got my hands on the LMT CQB Mars L and 5.56. Do I need anything else besides the barrel to shoot 6.8 SPC?
No, if you have the 6.8 barrel for it, get yourself Duramags. Get yourself C Products Duramags for that rifle. If you use those magazines, you'll never have any kind of malfunctions with it. Those are probably the best ones that are out there. The ones that are put out by PRI are pretty good as well. But the Duramags is probably one of the best ones that's out there.
Mark, thank you, says, have you had the chance to shoot the PSA Dagger?
No, that's one of the ones on the list from PSA to get a hold of. I've had a harder time getting a hold of guns from PSA for quite some time. We finally sort of cracked the nut. And for the first time, I will have a PSA gun in like 3 years. I'm going to be doing on Monday, testing the Jackal. God knows how long it took me to get it, but I finally have a Jackal to test. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really impressed with what I've seen with it so far by taking it apart and looking at how it's built. The Dagger is definitely one that is on my list to review. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yes, we talked about it on the last chat. I've recently had a meeting with their marketing director over at PSA, and we're going to start off with the Jackal and hope that we have some more PSA weapons coming to the channel. So that is definitely something that Chris is hoping to test out and we can bring to you guys. So I'm going to be scrolling up to the top, and I'm going to try to stay in order. I may have to skip around a little just depending on how many questions come in and all of that, but I'm going to try to get everyone, unless, obviously if you donate, your question gets bumped to the top. So, and we appreciate that. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Carrie, aim low.
Is a Daniel Defense DDM4 V7 a solid rifle for law enforcement, general purpose home defense, SHTF general purpose use?
Certainly. I don't have as much experience with them just due to the fact that I haven't been able to get my hands on them. But they are a U.S. government contractor. They build guns for SOCOM. In order to do that, that requires a certain degree of quality control, and they have done that. Daniel Defense also has their own Colt hammer forged barrels. I have done some Daniel Defense. It was a good, probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was the last ones I got to review, and the guns were beautiful. They were very, very well made, just extremely expensive. It's just one of those guns that is it worth the money? I think there's other guns out there that'll do just as good of a job, less the cost, but there's a good degree of quality control there because, again, they build guns for SOCOM.
If you had a choice of an AK-47 or an AR-15 chambered in AK-47 rounds, which one would you take?
You know what? We've been tackling that issue with videos. There was a video that was done, probably 2 years ago. It was on the Black Rifle Arms 7.62x39. And that was probably one of the first times I had seen a 7.62x39 AR that shot well and reliable with the combination of the rifle and the new Duramag magazines. The Duramag magazine is really the key to it. However, I'm doing another review on Monday as well. The Spear Light chambered at 7.62x39. I'm really anxious to see how that works with the proper magazines. It's not a match made in heaven, due mainly to the magazines. That cartridge is not like the straight column of the AR magazine well that goes into the curve. There are a couple out there that work relatively well. For instance, the KS-47 probably is one of the best ones out there that shoots the 7.62x39 and uses AK magazines. You also have the CMMG Mark 47 Mutant, which is a hybrid version. The ones that use the AK magazines are always going to be better because, again, that magazine is more natural in its shape to way those feed. However, the new Duramags are proving themselves to be incredible. If you're looking for an AR-based rifle that fires 7.62x39, I would highly recommend you take a look at Black Rifle Arms. Theirs works excellent. He's done some additional development work on the bolt and the firing pins. In fact, his firing pins are used by many OEMs.
Hey, Steve. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dustin on DonorBox. Thank you, Dustin. Do you have any experience with the 60-round P mags? And if so, what do you think?
For as far as drum magazines go, the D60 is the best one that's out there. Now, there have been some other ones. You have had the X Products drum that is a 50-round drum. That one was pretty good as well. 50. I don't think that it was as durable as the D60 was. The D60 also is the only magazine of its sort that will work in a SAW, meaning it will take that higher rate of fire, which does a lot for the quality of the Magpul D60. You'll see videos. I have one of the IAR where I'm using it. I have one with the LMG that I'm using it. I don't tend to put those in a lot because YouTube does not like drum magazines. Anything
they definitely
over 30-round magazines, they tend to get pissed off about, and they like to demonetize.
They get pissed off about a lot.
So I don't use them as much as possible, as much as I can, as much as I would like. However, if you're asking my opinion on it, I think it's the best one that's out there. Stay away from the Beta C drums, even though they're 100 rounds or whatever. I've had nothing but bad luck. Anything that Magpul puts out is stellar. There's no magazines that they put out there that I would not put in a combat gun in a heartbeat. But by far, that drum is the best one that's on the market today.
Yes, YouTube gets so pissed off that it's probably going to demonetize this live stream because we use the words pissed off.
Yeah.
Do translucent mags seem to be what armies are universally moving toward?
No. The only translucent magazine that was ever general issue were the ones by H&K and the Steyr UGs. Those are also translucent as well. The problem has been for many years, and I think they're starting to crack that one right now too, that when it comes to the strength of polymers, when you start going with translucent magazines, translucent types of polymers, they lose their tensile strength for some reason, where the solid color ones do not. Magpul in the really early days, probably around the 2008 period, 2007 period, the earlier days, probably 2004. They had messed around with some of those translucent magazines. I actually have one in my collection, one of those original ones. They could not get that one to be as durable as they could their solid colors. They just could not crack that. So they had given up for it for quite some time. They are now reintroducing it Actually, they should be out this summer. The first company who had a good run with it was Lancer. Lancer had made some really good ones. That started off as the green mag that has some translucent to it as well. Those are the only two companies who I think have really, well, today, I think the Lancer Advanced Warfighter magazine is the only truly good translucent magazine. Of course, you have like the HK MR762A one or the 417, which uses translucent. Those suckers are humongous and they're thick. They're not like a standard AR magazine. This is its own animal. But yeah, translucent is not. It's not the way that it's going. You're more apt to see window type magazines than you are translucent for military use.
Why on earth was the 6.8 SPC2 now chosen?
Why was it not? I imagine you're saying. I don't know, because the 6.8 SPC to me would have been the ideal round for the next generation service weapon. You have to also understand the Spec 2 and Spec 2 stuff as well. When the 6.8 first came out, people were actually making guns before the ammunition was even finalized. So the original Spec 1 ammunition was the one that SAMI put out a SAMI specs for, because they had to make sure that cartridge would work in all those different guns that were made up to that point. The Spec 2 was what the 6.8 SBC was supposed to be. And the problem was that was not SAMI. You cannot use a round that was made for a Spec 2 chamber in a Spec 1. You're risking damage to the gun and to yourself. There was only one or two companies. In fact, Silver State Armory was the one who made most of the Spec 2 ammunition, but it got to be so much of an insurance and so much of a liability problem, everybody basically gave up making the Spec 2 in favor of the Spec 1 just for the safety end of it. But no, that would have been the ideal round for the NGSW program. You would have not taken away any of the capabilities of the M4, but added to it.
Tad on Donor Box, thank you, Tad. Any advice for how to carry in the summer? And then also he said, what is the favorite ice cream to get in Texas? Well, I'll answer that easy. Bluebell. Anything by Bluebell is a try and true. That is a Texas brand, and we love our Bluebell here.
Is this question what kind of a gun to carry? Or
no, any advice on how to carry in the summer? Maybe because of like sweating and heat. And I would say like if you have like a smaller gun that you want to like be able to fit in your pocket, or like cargo pants, maybe that's not against your skin.
I have a pocket holster that I carry my P365, and then it just fits in my pocket. And also I tend to go with guns like the P365 and like some of the SIGs, and prior to that, the Glocks that you can have up against your skin, even if you have acidity in your skin, and they wouldn't rust. There's not a lot of easy ways to carry when you're not wearing a lot of heavy clothing. But the pocket pistol works with that holster. You can't tell; it looks like you have a wallet in your pocket.
Recommendations for optics to handle the FN-SCAR 17S harmonics.
Oh, easy. The Spectre Elcans. Those are the only ones that I know for a fact that were designed to work around the harmonic issues of the SCAR 17.
Chris, have you gotten a chance to get your hands on a genuine DeMaco Colt Canada AR-15?
Not one of the commercial ones, no. I have used the Colt Canada guns while I was at DiMaco during my book, and I had seen some with the Canadian military over in Afghanistan. I had seen some of the C-782s and some of the SFWs that were over there. So I do definitely have trigger time on those, and I am a big fan. As I said, if I had an SFW next to anything that was good that came out of Hartford, I would be going after that SFW in a heartbeat.
Do you find any value with burn down videos that Golden Web is doing?
Entertainment. You have to understand them for what they are. They don't tell you as much as you may think that they would. You may think that the gun that lasts longer is better. The reality is that it's not how you test guns. Destruction testing has its purpose for learning what parts may break sooner. A worst case scenario, it has a little bit of there, but when guns are really tested for military purposes, there is a threshold that's set up. It has to fire X amount of rounds in Y amount of time and have Z amount of malfunctions. There's a specification that's set up. Once a rifle meets that threshold, it doesn't matter if it goes 10 rounds ahead or 500 rounds ahead. It doesn't matter. There's a specification that it needs to sit. That's how real military testing is done. So going out there and testing and something until it blows up, you can make anything will blow up. Anything is going to fail eventually. And when it comes to the AR type rifles, you're not going to get a realistic idea of what an AR-15 is going to do, because the rifles that you're using are all over the board when it comes to quality. The parts may be higher end parts, they may be lower end parts. You may have a thicker barrel, you may have a thinner barrel. You know, you can take a mix and match of anything and have something fail and say, oh, this is not a representation of that weapon system. You have to look at those destruction tests for what they are. They are entertainment value only. It's the same thing when you see, you know, I enjoy a lot of Garand Thumb's videos, but like his freezing videos. That's not how an actual mil spec cold weather test is done. Nobody is going to dump water on those guns. The point is not to make the gun fail. The point is to give it a realistic idea of what it's going to see in combat. A realistic idea for icing in combat is going to be, you take a pistol or take a rifle, you bring it into a room or an area that's heated. You take the gun out, you're going to get condensation on it. That condensation is going to freeze. That's the kind of ice that we're dealing with, is the condensation. We're not talking about dumping a gallon of water on it. There's specific ways these tests are done, and it's hard for many people to understand that, you know, what you're seeing on there is not realistic. You know, if you look at, for instance, his Grand Thumb's videos on the guns for the cold test, if that was the way that those tests were done, not one pistol would ever have made it through any government testing or NATO protocol. Because that's, again, what Garand Thumb is trying to do. He is trying to make them fail. That is the whole purpose of this video. Military testing is, you're not trying to make them fail. You're trying to make them come up to the requirement that you set for it, and be realistic about it. It's not about trying to destroy. So you look at these as what they are, is entertainment. It's not reality. It's not telling you that one gun's better than another, because you're never going to carry even the guns that last the least. You're not going to be carrying that much ammunition on your person in combat to ever get your gun to do that.
Guys, remember to hit the like button. It's free to do it, and it helps the live stream and the channel, and we appreciate you. What would be your choice? Complete upper 10.5 for 300 blackout, Daniel Defense or LMT?
Either way. I have LMTs. In fact, you guys are going to be getting a real treat. You are going to be getting a first look, and I mean a first look because they're not available to anybody on the commercial market, the new ultra compact LMT PDW. It's their new 8.5 inch, and the one that I have is a blackout. Both of them are going to be pistol and gas systems. One's, you can get LMT, you can get 10.5, and soon to be, you'll be able to get the 8.5 inch barrel. If you're looking for something even shorter, Centurion Arms has a 5.5 inch blackout barrel. You can get whatever you want. You know, I don't really see there being a major quality difference between any of those. They're all top end guns, so you're not going to go wrong with any one of them.
Are stainless trigger hammer pins still required if upgraded to the Centurion PCC trigger on my AR-9 blowback?
I would say the need for them will drastically decrease. Myself, I still use stainless steel on mine because they're designed for it, and it's one more safeguard that I have. However, using the proper hammer that I designed along with Monty, you're not going to be taking the stresses onto that hammer pin like you normally would with any other one.
And I went ahead and plopped in those discount codes for Centurion. Those are active. They are 3 different codes: 3% off complete rifles, 5% off uppers and lowers, and 10% off everything else. So you can save yourself a little bit of coin there. Thoughts on CZ Scorpion 3 Plus?
Oddly, you mentioned that. I have a micro Scorpion on the way to me right now. I expect maybe another couple months, probably a couple months or so before I have my next range session. We'll be reviewing one of those. Mechanically, the Scorpions are all blowback. They're all the same. The major differences are going to be obviously size, and the newer Scorpions are going to be using more of an M16 or AR-15 style magazine release instead of the more of the paddle type. But yeah, I just got notification that it was approved by CZ, so you will be having one of those probably within the next 2-3 months to review.
Opinion on the new Knights armament super short suppressor that British SOF is using?
Don't really have one. I have not had a chance to use one. I don't really do a lot with night suppressors because I don't have access to them, and it's not a company. That's not a company I can call up and say send me something to review. They're one of those companies that's very high. It's very high end for as far as cost is concerned. When you look at a lot of the data that's out there, there's a lot of suppressors that are just as good, if not better, than what they're putting out. There's the companies who work with me, I can bring you a lot of stuff. The ones that don't, it makes it that much more difficult. And when it becomes NFA stuff, it's that much even more difficult. For as far as sound suppressors these days, I do a lot of silencer code. But one of the biggest changes that I'm seeing these days is I'm using more of the reverse flow. I'm tending to really appreciate those for as far as the fact they're not making the guns work as hard. And they're saving wear and tear on the guns. That's nice. You're not getting as much in your face for as far as gases. But yeah, I wish I could give you more information on the nights, but that's one of those companies that is just very difficult for me to get anything from to review.
How is that LMT ion suppressor I have seen in your videos?
I love it. It's reverse flow. And one of the things they did really smart with that was the interface for as far as its interlocking. They have their own muzzle device, but you can also add the ASR adapter from Silencer Co. on there, which I have on most of my guns. They are all Silencer Co. ASR mounts. So being able to throw that on the ion was absolutely awesome. So I could use it on all of my guns. I am very fond of it. In fact, you're going to see several videos that are going to be coming out in the very near future. We're going to see the Ion 30 on several of them. In fact, I just told you about this first head look you're going to be getting at the new micro PDW. That's going to have the ion suppressor on it as well. It's an excellent suppressor, very well made. You wouldn't expect anything less with the LMT name on it.
What is your opinion on 16-inch ARs chambered in 300 blackout?
They are designed for supersonic. One of the things I say a lot of is for those of you who are using 300 blackout in states where you're not going to be using subsonic ammunition, you're better off with going with a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 11 inch carbine length barrel. The 7 inch on there is designed specifically to stabilize the 220 grain subsonic rounds. If you're not going to be using subsonic ammunition, I would rather you're much better off going with, again, a 1 in 10 or so inch barrel with a carbine length gas system, which will work much better with the supersonic ammunition. I'm not sure how available they are. To be perfectly honest with you, my pair of blackouts, all I shoot is subsonic out of them because that's what makes it shine. Is using the subsonic ammunition with the suppressor. That's my little tidbit on that one.
Apparently, there was a debate going on tonight about the photo that we use on our banner for the channel, and it was also the photo that's the still photo while the chat is waiting to, it's waiting for me to click the live button. They would like to know what gun it is. Somebody thought it was an M16A1.
It is. It's an M16A1 carbine.
Isn't it an LMT?
No, it's that one actually is Brownell's. I guess I can give you a little quick story time on that. When I was young, I was 15, 16. I got my first AR-15. It was a A2 Sport or 2. I always loved the Vietnam era guns, but by the time I was ready to get one in the late 80s, the SP1s were harder to come by, and I wanted one with a full assist, which was impossible at the time. And I liked the carbine from watching Platoon. That was a neat one. I love the M16A1 carbine. Well, me and my buddy, we had built up a couple carbines with parts that came out of Nassard and some other ones, and those things would not work. We never got RA1 carbines to ever work. And after that, I sort of gave up on carbines, and right up through then I didn't get back into them until the introduction of 6920, and of course, going to work for Colt many years later. When Brownells introduced their new retro line, they offered all of the parts to make an M16A1 carbine. They had the 16-inch, 1 and 12-inch barrel. They had all the actual parts. So, my mind going back to when I was a kid wanting one that worked. I had got all the parts. I built up that A1 carbine, and sure enough, I had an A1 carbine now that freaking works like a sumbitch. It works beautifully. Accurate, reliable, everything. And that's the rifle that you're seeing there. It is those parts all came from Brownells Retro. They are all correct parts, right from the receiver extension being 2-position to the aluminum stock. To the standard buffer across the board. I don't know. You probably can't get all those parts anymore. Anymore. I'm just glad I got the time that I did because it was beautiful. It's a really nice rifle. And those of you who are carrying M4s to this day, where you're looking at 8-9 pound rifles, to have a nice light 6 weight to take it back to what this gun was supposed to be is pretty cool too.
Stephen on DonorBox, he said no question, just appreciate what you do. Thank you so much. Do you have any thoughts on the KK Industries Chrome Sand Cutter Dual Injector Spring VCG?
There's a video coming out probably the next month. There's an entire video where I talk about the KEK, not only the standard chrome carrier, but also the downward bend. It goes onto both of those, so you have an entire video coming up on that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the videos that I put up for Patreon to vote on for early release. They ended up wanting another crime series in Ruger, so that one went out over that KAK video. But yeah.
Yeah, that'll have anything that you want to know about them. And just for a side note, yeah, they are beautifully made. They are very, very well made. That bolt is very nicely made.
Any H&R, I'm going to assume H&K clone videos in the near future?
Well, that's another interesting thing. When I was at SHOT Show, I met with H&R, and the gentleman who runs that, he was the former guy who owned Nodak Splint. And I had said that there was a couple other guns I was interested in reviewing. Now, that's all owned by PSA. So you have to go through the PSA people to do requests for H&R, for DPMS, and for PSA. So I can only get one at a time right now, providing that we fulfill what their requirements are for us to be able to get another one. I've already gone ahead and said that I wanted to get a H&R M16A1, and I also wanted to get one of their clones.
Any danger and damage if using a vintage Edgewater buffer with today's ammo? My 605 even feeds steel case with it and a semi-auto carrier.
Using Wolf that's underpowered? Probably not. I would not use it. No. There's a whole reason why that part was switched out. That was switched out for with modern propellant is all ball propellant. It's all going to be the higher cyclic rate, the higher pressures, which is what that was why that was gotten rid of. I would not be using the Edgewater buffer in anything.
What are your thoughts on the Centurion Arms Mark 11 receiver set?
Mark 11. Oh, the 308s. You know, that's actually one of his products that I have not actually had in my hands. I had talked to Monty a while ago about wanting to get a complete 308 of his, and that's something that we are talking about in the future. I expect I like to do videos on Centurion, fairly regularly. I like to do at least a couple, 3 a year. You've already got a new one coming out within the next few months. You'll have a new Centurion video, and I think the focal point of the next Centurion video will be his 308 platform. But those are all billet that he does. We had a discussion, and he's not putting a forward assist on it, which is awesome. He's also going off of the AR Armalite type pattern instead of the DPMS pattern, which is awesome as well.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen our video with the interview of the owner of Centurion, he was a former Navy SEAL, you should go and watch that because he has an incredible story of how he came to be and how his career has gone and how he ended up with Centurion running it with his wife. It's a pretty incredible story. What is the con to no longer gas tubes? I see more people using rifle or intermediate on 14.5 to 16-inch barrel lengths.
It gives you more time for that system to remain, the bolt to remain closed to allow depressurization, so the cartridge case is easier to extract. You always want to go with the longest system possible. If you're looking at a 14.5-inch barrel, one's a mid-length and one is a carbine length, there's absolutely, utterly no benefit to going with a carbine length gas system. There's not one thing that I could say is better about it. If you're looking to get a short barrel, when looking at a 10.5-inch, get a 12-inch and get a mid-length gas system. The longer the gas system, the better. LMT right now is pretty much discontinued their MRP barrels. Pretty much all their 14.5-inch now are all they're all mid-length. You're looking at their carbine length barrels. They are now offering a 12-inch barrel, which I'll be doing a review on in the future, where they're using a mid-length gas system on it. It's nothing but a benefit. There's no negatives to increasing your gas tube length.
Do you know much about the Turkish MKE MPT 76?
Nope, not at all. There's a couple Turkish guns I've been trying to get a hold of, but I had a lot of luck. Those of you guys who follow me, you know I've only done basically one shotgun in this entire time I've done this. I got about 630 something videos, and I've got one video on a shotgun. It's the only shotgun I think is worth anything in the world, and it's the Benelli M1014. There is a Turkish version of that too, that basically is a copy because the patents for the Argo system are already gone. And because I enjoy the M1014 so much, I wanted to see how that one would work. I just have not had any luck being able to get my hands on one. However, I talked to Dina over at Beretta, and I have my name down for a 1203. So when one does become available, you'll be seeing probably your second ever shotgun on this channel.
What is the best can for an MP5 SP5? I'm in the market for another can. Spectre 9 Cash 9K are on the short list.
There's not any specific cans. If you look at baffle cans, they're basically going to be mostly the same. You're going to see very little difference. When you're looking at 9mm baffle can, you're not going to see any that are really going to stand out over the rest. I have a few of them here. I have one of the SIG cans that's basically like a Lego set. You can make them as long or short as you like. I've got a Silencer Co. So Megan, I think that one was, I can't remember the call. I have a Silencer Co. one. I even have an Atlas Defense one, and I have a GSL. Now, looking at all of those, again, you have lower costs with Atlas. Then you go right up to the high end with SIG. Then you have GSL, which is sort of in the middle. And I would probably say the Silencer Co. is the same. I can't tell you any one performs better than the other with subsonic ammunition. So there's not so much of what's better and what's not. Some are made better than others. You're sticking with the names, sticking with Gemtech, Silencer Co., GSL, SIG. You stick with those, you are not going to have a problem with it. Find one that you like the way that it looks. I mean, that's the best I can say, but you're not going to see it. You're apt to see more of a difference with high power rifles, sound suppressors, than you are pistols, especially ones that you're looking at subsonic ammunition.
What is your opinion on 30 Super Carry? The shine seems to have disappeared on this round, and nobody's making guns for it.
Don't know. A few years ago, I was able to get some ammunition in for it, and I was never able to get a gun. So that's one of those ones that I tried getting a gun, and I ended up just giving up on it. And from what I learned and everything that I see, the cartridge is pretty much dead. It's one of those ones that it showed up like the 224 Valkyrie. It shows up, it got a little bit of a spin, and then it's gone again.
Do you think Colt would ever produce a mid-length barrel with an enhanced contour like a Noveske N4 light barrel or a Critian core barrel? It's unfortunate Colt doesn't do these profiles.
Colt has done once. The Colt Combat Unit was the only mid-length gun that I had ever seen Colt do AR with a mid-length gas system. You have to understand where Colt is. Colt is the same way that it's been for the last 20 years since 1995. They want to build one gun and one gun only. They want to build M4s. And that means they mass produce the carbine length barrels. They're using the same parts. They don't want to change. It's not a company that wants to do things differently. If you're looking for something that's advanced like that, Colt is not the company that you want to look at. Unless you want legacy M4, 1995 era, Colt's not a company you want to look for. You want something like that, you can pretty much go to anybody else. And again, you guys know I'm a Centurion fan. You're not going to beat a Centurion Colt Hammer Forge mid-length 16-inch barrel. You're not going to beat it. That's the way to go. But unfortunately with Colt, it's just not a company that progresses. They're still making the same thing. If you look at them, what's keeping them alive right now, is foreign military sales and foreign military aid, which are all contracts that are bought through the U.S. government. The U.S. government buys U.S. issue M4A1s, and they either sell them to countries at a drastic cost or they give them to foreign military aid. Colt doesn't have to compete in the open market for those. It's out there, they're showing up at, say, next year, Britain, they want a new assault rifle. Colt's not going to show up there with an M4 and say, here's what it's going to be. Let's see what's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Colt's not going to win contracts like that with 1995 M4s. They're surviving right now because of wars with foreign military sales, foreign military contracts they don't have to compete for.
How far away do you think NATO is from officially adopting 300 Black?
They won't. The 300 Blackout is a specialized cartridge. It has a lot of benefits for Centurion type of getting rid of that kind of stuff. It's a specialized. It's not a combat round. The 300 Blackout is a combat round. Is not going to replace the 5.56. It's marginal, not quite as probably as powerful as the 7.62 by 39. You just have a lot more options for ammunition. I don't ever see it as being an infantry caliber. No way. But it has its area for special operations, especially with its ability to go subsonic. That's where it shines. Is being silenced for sentry incapacitation.
Thoughts on LMT using straight pins on their front sight base instead of taper pins? And what are your thoughts on their QC? I've seen many posts about minor QC fit and finishes issues with LMT recently.
Well, first off, as far as the taper pins are concerned, I've never seen an issue with them. Taper pins are not meant to be taken in and taken out. Neither are those kind of roll pins. Neither are spring pins. They're not. Once these things are put on, they're supposed to be left on. So as long as you leave them alone like they're supposed to be, they will never walk out on you. As far as the QC is concerned, you're talking about blemishes for as far as physical. You're not talking about mechanical problems. You're talking about guns that don't look like Perazzi shotguns. This is the thing that every manufacturer really fights with is when you're building a rifle for a government, for a military, they want functional guns. They can have mismatching colors. They have color palettes. They have all these other criteria where they're not meant to have to be precision, beautifully like a Perazzi shotgun. The commercial market, on the other hand, they had this requirement to make an assault rifle. It's a tool into a Perazzi shotgun. So LMT makes tools. They don't make Perazzi shotguns. So if there's a physical blemish on the aluminum or something like that, for a tool that doesn't matter. It's mechanics of how that it works. So for someone to complain about that, that's not a QC issue. You're buying a military weapon. You're not buying the Perazzi shotgun. So I guess my looks at that are a little bit different because we had the same thing at Colt. We would put out guns that were 1,000% functional. They were perfect, and somebody would bring them back because there was a scratch, or there was some kind of like a little bit of a divot, where it was machined, or there was a chatter mark or something along those lines, which makes a lot of manufacturers not want to work. They'd rather work with military and law enforcement than they would commercial because they can make tools for the law enforcement and military. They have to put all this extra attention in for commercial markets.
Opinions on Spike Tactical Mil Spec. He hasn't seen a recent review on it, and he's recently found a good deal on their cold hammer forged complete uppers.
Their cold hammer forged barrels come out of FN. At least they did back in.
He's saying he hasn't seen a review in 10 years.
Yeah, I haven't done a review in 10 years. The last one I did was, I would have to say, around 2006, 7, 8, in that time period. And I had gotten a hold of one of their barrels, and that barrel was made by FN. Now, that was a company that I tried for a while to get guns from to review. They were making the guns for Red Jacket, the ones when Red Jacket opened, when they were selling their RJ rifles that they guaranteed for life. Those were being manufactured by them. Yeah, before they're there. Yeah, they were making those rifles for them. They made very, very high quality equipment. I have not actually seen a Spike Tactical in at least 10 to 15 years. So I wish I could give you a better answer for that, but it's just not something I've seen.
Do you know if Centurion will be incorporating a captured firing pin, retaining pin in the C4 carrier?
Talking with Monty, that's one of the things that he will be working on. Monty has been doing a lot of work on increasing quality in new products. He has a new enhanced bolt out that you're going to be seeing in this video that's going to be coming up, where he's got dual ejectors. He's beefed up the material right behind the lugs. He's made some major enhancements to the bolt. And I expect you're going to be seeing that coming up with the carrier as well. Monty is self-funded. He doesn't have investors who come in and give him a whole bunch of capital for him to be able to go do all his R&D. He has to pay for his own R&D, his own time, and all that. And he's been doing a lot of new products like that. He's been doing a lot of products for overseas customers, military customers, making special weapons as well. But I can't tell you for sure, but I would bet that is in the pipeline at some point in a not too distant future.
And that's probably also why they don't have a large inventory. I know a lot of people complain about the inventory and what's available. And I always say, based off what they have, both him and his wife, Corey, who runs it, say, if there's really something you're interested in, you just need to watch the website every day. Just check it every day, because as soon as they have any stock and it goes up there, it usually sells out. I mean, when you're self-funded, you can only make so much, but the quality is impeccable. So we wouldn't endorse them if we didn't believe in them. So
no, I would take it if I had to walk out into a combat zone tomorrow. I would take any of my Centurion guns.
It's worth the hassle of just checking daily. That's what I would tell you. Wanted to know if you have any experience with dimpled LMT barrels from D. Wilson Manufacturing. A friend ordered one in 308 16-inch.
There's a few different ways that you secure these gas blocks with set screws. First way is you just have the set screws, and as you screw them down, they sort of make a little bit of an indentation into the softer barrel steel, and that's supposedly what holds them. Does the shitty job. Those will actually move forward. The next way is they will basically dimple one area and have a dog nose on one of the screws. So one of the screws will go in further into that dog nose, so that prevents it from moving forward. So if you put Loctite on it, that'll prevent it from moving forward. Then they have people who will do two of those. So you have two dog nose screws that will Loctite into place. So it basically won't move. And then you have companies like Geisley who will do that. Plus they will do a ability for you to hand drill and pin it into place. I'm not specifically sure what they do, but when you tell me dimpled, that basically means that you have a dimple on the underside of the barrel, on the opposite side of where you have the gas port, that there's somewhat of a standardization in gas blocks where those set screws are. So hopefully your set screw will line up with that dimple. It'll go up into place. It'll first off, it'll center it, and then plus when you have a Loctite on, it'll prevent it from being able to move.
What is your opinion on the arms products like the Swan Sleeve and SIR rails? Probably outdated now, but would be cool to hear your thoughts on gear from the early GWOT years.
When Dick Swan was the first person to come out with a free-floated rail.
Yeah.
And if you guys have Black Rifle 2 or America's Rifle, you will see it. It was called the rigid frame. That was the very first free-floated barrel that ever existed for the M16 platform. Then Reed Knight and Dave Lutz came out with their wrist system. And right around that time is when Dick Swan came out with his SIR system, Selective Integral Rail. That was state-of-the-art at the time. His patent was being able to attach it to the barrel nut. That was how he made a lot of his money. People valued that patent. That was very much state-of-the-art at the time with a removable bottom rail. Now, that is considered extremely heavy, outdated, bulky. Right before Dick Swan passed, he came out with what we call the Spartan. The Spartan was his first more sleek version of the SIR system. And it was out there maybe 5 or 10 years. But at that time, it was right after the Sullivan Band sunset when everybody and their brother started coming out with their own rails. Now you had the monolithic rail, which was taken up by Carl Lewis's patent. You couldn't do that. And then you had Arms, who had the patent on being able to attach a rail to the barrel nut, which now has been that patent's now gone, and now everybody's doing it. Dick Swan was cutting edge of all that technology. Everybody hated him because he sued people who stole his technology, because he had the best way that was out there of being able to mount a rail to a gun without modifications. So as of now, that stuff is all way, way out of date. It's large, it's heavy, and you won't even be able to find it. Since he passed, his daughter took over, and she sort of run the company into the ground. You can't get anything, even the guys.
I'm sure she's gonna love hearing that.
Well, she did. She lost interest in it. She lost interest in it.
She probably never really had interest in it.
Yeah. They stopped all R&D. If you go on their webpage, 8 out of 10 products are not even going to be in in stock. They're not even making the things any longer. I know Monty has been trying to get a hold of the parts to make a Mark 12 Mod O, and he had a hell of a time. PRI ended up making their own versions of the Swan sleeve and some of these other part in the backup sites because they can't get them from arms any longer. But back in the GWAT days, that was state of the art. That was cutting edge.
What do you think about the quality of DeMaco ARs?
I have many videos on it. I would recommend you take a look at my video. It's I think it's the Guns of the Great White North. I have a couple of videos on that, and I think they're the absolute higher quality. What they are right now, I don't know. Now that Colt has taken them over, it's now Colt Canada. With the changeover in staff, the Colt has basically fired most of the people at DeMaco who knew what they were doing. I don't know what has changed for as far as if there's been anything in the quality. So I can't speak as to anything over the last, say 5 or 10 years. Prior to that, I would say the guns were up to, if not higher quality than was coming out of Hartford.
Do you have any updates on videos that you want to share?
Oh, geez. Yes, we do. We have Black Rifle Arms 308. We have the SIG Spear Light 7.62x39. We have the KFR PTR 7.62x39. We have Aero Precision, both their M16A4 and their M5. We have the Beretta GLX, the new frame-mounted rail. We have CZ75. We have a new update on the IWI Masada. Let's see what else I can think of. We have LMTs. You've seen one video already. That's coming up. Well,
no, they have not seen it. It was released yesterday to Patreon early.
Okay. Those are two videos that I am really excited about sharing with you. The first one that she was talking about that's up for Patreon right now is one on the New Zealand contract LMT rifles. Now, I said rifles, not rifle. There was two. You had the infantry rifle and you had a special operations rifle. And I'm showing you both instead of just the one. So that's the full contract. And the next one is on the Estonia rifles. Again, rifles. There was three. There was three rifles. There was not one. You've seen the Estonia rifle, reference rifle that was the assault rifle, but you did not see the carbine, which was 12 inches, and you did not see the 16-inch 308 external piston version that was made specifically for that that contract. You will be seeing all three. You will be seeing all three of those. So I'm relatively excited about that. You're also going to be getting a video eventually. It's going to be showing you the LMT external and internal 308 barrels. We're going to do a little bit of a comparison between the two and see if we can see much of a difference between the accuracy of the two.
Yeah, so those are going to be first looks that you're going to see that you haven't been able to see anywhere else. And no, LMT is not paying us or give us a check. If you would like to make a donation to the channel, I put the link in the chat. This is what helps our channel keep going and making the content that we do and not producing commercials, because I feel like these days that's mainly what you're getting as a commercial. I have a Colt 6551 with an LST serial number prefix, A2 lower, no sear block, restricted markings, and no band features. I can't find any info about the LST prefix and figured it was a limited LE model.
I'm looking at that one up right now because it does not sound familiar to me at all. That does not sound familiar. Okay, it looks like to me it's a A2. It looks to me like it's an A2 rifle. So basically a copy of an M16A2. Now, what I'm telling you is going to be basically pure conjecture because I can't tell you for sure, but I know how some of these rifles came about. Colt has a lot of contracts in Mexico. Mexico had a lot of different requirements. That was probably one of the few countries that would buy semi-automatic only versions of M16A2s, A4s, M4s. They would have their own models that they would want. I do know for a fact that Colt has made M16A2 semi-automatic only rifles. My guess is the 6551 might have been an overrun from doing those because we have the M16A2 has been obsolete, God, since maybe 96 is when the M16A4 came in. So it's been quite some time. So Colt had not manufactured anything even with those backup sights. Now, again, Mexico has procured some rifles in those configurations. That's what I'm guessing your rifle is. And that would have been sold under the LE because that would have been sold during the ban. So that would have been an LE version.
Victor on DonorBox, thank you so much, Victor. Just bought 2 LMT SPM 14 rifles for $800 each. Is that a good deal? Opinion on LMT standard patrol models compared to Colt. Is it a good deal, number one?
Yeah, it's a good deal. LMT, you have 2 different receivers now. You have what's referred to as the Guardian. I'm sorry, the Defender. The Defender is your mil-spec lower receiver. Then you have the Mars, the modular ambidextrous rifle system. So you have the 2 of them. If you look at a Colt series, which is mil-spec, that's it. It's a Colt mil-spec they're using on the M4s. The Defender is the exact same lower receiver. It's the same forging. It's the same features. It's not going to be really any different from anything else that's out there. So yeah, for price for LMT, if hopefully that's a complete rifle, a complete lower. It's not just a strip receiver, but that would be about right.
What is your opinion on barrel dimpling and fluting weight reduction? I think this is what the earlier question was asking about the D. Wilson dimple barrels. Does it affect accuracy?
Okay, this is a different. So the fluting and dimpling is different. The dimpling is basically just to lose weight. It's to decrease your weight. Knights is one of the companies that does a lot of that kind of dimpling. Fluting, on the other hand, has been done for quite a few years. Fluting gives you rigidity. It decreases weight by keeping the barrel rigid. Basically, if a barrel was to heat up, it would take a lot longer for that barrel to start to droop because it disperses the heat a lot better. You don't really get as many heat spots with a fluted barrel as you do the dimple. The dimple, I don't believe, does anything really for accuracy. The fluting does. The fluting does. It gives you accuracy. It gives you rigidity. It's not, and I believe the dimpling is pretty much only to give you a reduction in weight.
Centurion 16-inch recce or LMT 16-inch SS MRP upper for general purpose recce build with a Mark 262 ammo.
Probably the Centurion. The Centurion recce barrels is designed specifically around the Mark 262 round. Both Monty's recce barrels and his ones for his Mark 12 are basically contract type of Mark 12 barrels. For somebody who's looking for more of a precision rifle, you're going to have a little bit better of a potential with a dedicated rifle than you are one that changes out. Cost for what you want, you're probably going to be better off with the Centurion. It's going to be about half the cost is probably the LMT will, and for that half the cost, it's going to do the job that you want. Granted, the LMT is going to give you the ability to change out those barrels easy, but if you're looking for something that's dedicated and you're looking for a barrel like that, again, the barrels that Carl has are awesome. They're designed around basic NATO ammunition, but the ones that Monty's going to give you is designed specifically around the ammunition that you're going to feed it. That's what it's designed around.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I have had a 12-hour day and I am beat, but I appreciate you guys spending your Saturday night with us. If you have any questions outside of the chat, we ask that you make a donation to the channel. You can use the link donor box. It's on smallarmsolutions.com. It's also in the description box of all of our videos, and you can just put your question in the notes section of the donation, or you can just send me an email with it separately to hbartacci@smallarmsolutions.com, and you'll get a response within a few hours if you need to send photos or whatever. We, do all that stuff. So we are available 7 days a week, guys, even outside of the chat. But we thank you so much for joining us, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Thank you.